Well, I'm going to start off today telling you that you will find links in the description. One for my fundraiser at Go Give Send Go, and one for Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd like to give, I would be very happy. I would feel very blessed. But if you can't give, please like and subscribe to the channel so the channel can grow and I can start earning my money instead of asking for handouts all the time. Capiche? Okay. I'm going to elaborate a little bit from yesterday's video. First thing I need to clear up is the cousin thing. I talked in an earlier video about a cousin that helped me out when I was homeless. We'll call her Jenny. And I talked yesterday about a cousin that abandoned me with 2 mortgage payments. And we'll call her name Linda. Jenny brought that to my attention. So I think I have 7 first cousins. I've said I don't have family, but, you know, Jenny knew what happened to me, and trust me, if Jenny knew, everybody knew. And Jenny's the only one that bothered to reach out to me and help me. But anyway, I told you yesterday I worked at McKesson Drug Company. I was a hard worker there. I first started filling orders on something they call a track. That's where you wear an apron, it has armholes, and you hold it up and throw all the individual things into the apron and go dump it in a tote and send it on its way on a conveyor belt. But I started like that. Then I got into the warehouse area, the full case area, where I did fill full case orders. It was a 2-man job when I took it over. I turned it into a 1-man job. My supervisor, whose name was Ellie, she was always offering to send help for me, but I never needed it. They even let me renumber the whole pallet area, which just was a big warehouse. It's right on the corner of I think Apple Grove and Freedom. It was a big job doing that, but I made it that way so I didn't have to sort my orders so much. I had big stacks of orders like that, labels, and you have to sort them out. And they're all backwards, so I fixed it. Then I got moved to, well, I didn't get moved. I bid on a day job. Yeah, and I got that. Nobody expected me to take it. I surprised them all. But I got that, and I was just putting away freight. And then I got to be a receiving clerk. And, that's a pretty important job when you're dealing with drugs, because that's what McKesson Drug Company was. They had all the drugs. Any prescription you get, it's just, anything. They had different schedules, from Schedule 1 through 5. Schedule 1 is for, I don't know if it had medical use or not, but marijuana used to be Schedule 1. I don't know if it still is or not, or anything hard like that or harder as Schedule 1. And Schedule 2 is a lot of your painkillers and opioids. And Schedule 3 and 4 is most of your prescriptions, be it for blood pressure or, whatever, antidepressant or something like that. And Schedule 1 or Schedule 5, I'm really not sure. I even seen a Schedule 5, but I think that's how many schedules there was. But yeah, I worked hard. I excelled at my job. And like I said, there was a large amount of money for me to take if I quit. And I did quit. I did take the money. And less than a year later, McKesson was on a buying spree. They were buying all kinds of smaller companies and eating them all up. And they bought a stinker. I forget what it was, but they had a lot of bad stuff in their books. Everybody had their stock in the company employee stock ownership plan. There's guys that had over $1 million in there. That stock went more than half in one day. So I felt bad for the guys that lost it, but I had a quiet happiness for myself since I was able to take it before something bad happened, and we'd all been talking about it. And there's only 2 of us that acted on it that I know of for sure. A good friend, he lost a lot. He was there a good 20 years or so. And, like I said, I feel bad for the people who lost, but I made a good decision for once. And then I went to work at Lowe's. They hired me as a part-timer. And I was trying to organize some shelves and storage bins and stuff like that. I asked for the planogram. And one of the managers said, "You can't be doing that now. It's just worry about, helping customers." And I got a little loud with him, saying, "This is a mess. It needs straightened up. It needs clean." So, he leaves. I guess he went and talked to the store manager. And he comes back, "Well, how would you like to be full-time team leader in flooring?" So, "Sure, I'll take it." Didn't have much of a team to lead. I had a department manager and 2 specialists. You really don't do anything with them. And there's one guy who's just basically labor. They used to call them grunts, similar to military, I guess. But I would take sales whenever I could when I was in flooring. And one of the sales specialists, a woman, she's very nasty. I don't know what I ever did to her. I may have threatened her corner on the flooring market because she's always the top sales specialist. So I suppose, I threatened her position. But then there's opening for a sales specialist in plumbing. So I took that. And, at the time when you sold stuff at Lowe's, special order, you got paid commissions. Or if you cross the aisle and sell appliances, you really got commissions. So I was able to do that a lot. But I excelled. I led the whole district in sales for plumbing. And I did that, I don't know, several years. And then a spot opened up in flooring for a sales specialist. And my sales manager always wanted me to go over there. And I was apprehensive about it because of that woman. But I took the job. Now, they had canceled all commissions and stuff like that at this point. So you were just selling to show numbers. You weren't getting paid for it. But I come in one day. We had a sales desk. There's two people, one side for each of us, computer and phone and stuff. And I come in, and she has blue painter's tape going right down the middle, across the desk, all the way to the floor. I never did anything to this woman. You know, I called her Beelzebub behind her back, you know, because she's so evil. But then I was supposed to get these commercial sales from this construction company that did fire restoration and cleanup and stuff. So, you know, this woman always made me nervous. So the guys brought me carpet they wanted to order and the number. And yeah, I put the number in and ordered the carpet. And the problem is I did not check the color because I was nervous. You know, so if it weren't for that woman, I'd never been nervous. But so they got the carpet and the installers installed it and they found out it's the wrong color. So, you know, this is after many years at Lowe's. I've been there, I've been a star, or been a not so good, but I got called in the office. And my sales manager says, well, the store manager first told me what happened and said how irate the customer was. And then my sales manager, he says, why don't you take a 4-hour lunch break today and, you know, think things over. So I did what he said to do, and I went home and typed up my resignation because they're probably going to bust me down from being a specialist. You know, they weren't going to fire me. They just put me down to a regular person. And I didn't want that. So I think that's why George gave me George, he was the name of my sales manager too. But I think that's why he gave me the long time. And he didn't say it out loud, but, you know, I caught the message, and so I resigned. And then that's when I visited a college with my wife because she wanted to investigate a nursing program. And yeah, I got sucked into a computer networking program, which it was Brown Mackie College. I don't know how anybody feels about it or knows about it, but it was a pretty decent place. Yeah, I got pretty good education. Yeah, I take all the English and speaking and writing papers and algebra and, you know, all that stuff besides computers. But they had a dean's list that would come out monthly because it's kind of one class, 1 month is how the system worked. And, you know, I managed to be on the dean's list every month. And I was by far the leading person in the computer program. I mean, you know, ever since personal computers came out, I was very interested, and, you know, I guess I had Oh, I don't know what to call it. I learned very easily on computers about all the computer stuff. So, I excelled there. Had to take all the server classes, had to learn all the, network masks and the hexadecimal system, something like that. It's been a lot of years now. But I was taking care of the Champion Event Center at the time for 2 years, which was a big job. We're always rearranging the tables and chairs, which I think there's 50 or 60 tables, 4 chairs each side. And the auction would want them set up one way. The auction would want them set up a different way. And then when people came in for wedding receptions, we'd get the plans, how they wanted things. So that brings me to a funny story. Kind of tells you about what a smart ass my wife was. Well, is. We're just not married any longer. But we were finishing up on a Saturday morning, and a couple women came in. One was the bride, and I guess some other members of her wedding party. And somebody saw me working and saw my wife working, and said, "Who's those people?" And the bride said, "Oh, they're just cleaning people." And my wife heard that. So she was very sneaky about it, but we're finishing up, and she started talking to him, and she said, "Congratulations. Are you the bride?" She said, "Yeah." And my wife says to her, "When's the baby due?" And the girl says, "Well, I'm not pregnant." "Oh, so you're just fat?" Oh, she really had balls to do shit like that. She she chased a Mexican woman around in Burlington Coat Factory because she took her cart, an empty cart, and they almost threw down. My wife speaks Polish, German, English. She knows some Russian. She knows a little bit of everything. And the Mexican woman started yelling Spanish. My wife was yelling in Polish or German, whatever it was. Yeah, it was always eventful with her. But then I went to YRC Freight. It was called Yellow Roadway Company because Yellow had purchased Roadway. And that was, oh God, Roadway guys and Yellow guys always getting at each other, They didn't like each other, especially Roadway guys. Yellow bought them, and they weren't happy about it. So there's a lot of that going on. And, all I did, you drive a forklift, go in, pick up an order or a pallet and bring it up on the computer screen and see how many pallets it is and which door you take it to. And you're supposed to load it on that trailer at that door. And when you're done, you hit the button and it's loaded. So, that's the job, right? So a lot of people there hated the company. And they would just do things that they thought would cost the company money. So there's this big guy there. His name is Ron. I hope he's still alive. I have no idea. He was an older gentleman, 70 something. He's really heavy. And his ankles were like that. But he's funny. He'd move slow. He didn't work hard. And they always catch him sitting around or screwing off, whatever. But if they made him mad, he would take, like, for example, freight that's supposed to go west, It could be any destination, Chicago, St. Louis, California, whatever. But he would take it and load it on an eastbound trailer and say he loaded it on the proper trailer. So I guess he was costing the company money by making him ship it all the way back again. And I always looked at it this way. The customer's paying for the freight, and they expect to get it when they're told they're going to get it. So, just... Plus, I didn't have an axe to grind with the company. I took the job, low-paying job, because I was always crying about money and made an arrangement with the Teamsters for new employees. They start at this scale and they go to this scale, and that's it. And all the old guys are making, I don't know, 25, 26 bucks an hour or something. And, I topped out at 18. But I became a truck driver, and that took the lock off the pay. It put me right up there with everybody else. Although we were paid more by the mile than we were hourly. I mean, if you break down, you have to get tire changed or something. You call them and you go on the clock. And when you're ready to roll again, you call them and you go off the clock. So a tire blowout usually costs you 3 or 4 hours sitting around. Or if you got caught in a traffic jam, which I did twice, where I sat for 3 hours or 4 hours. I forget. One was in Kentucky, and one was over in Pennsylvania. Usually caused by an accident, But the company is slick, though. They got guys calling in time saying they were stuck in traffic, but they tracked GPS and seen that they were moving, and they refused to pay them. But mine were legit and just sat there, and the damn trucks shut off after just a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes. You gotta try to keep them running. It's efficiency, they shut them down. They don't want you idling anymore. So I was restarting it. If you can get your gas pedal fast enough, it'll keep running. But if you're a little distracted, you have to restart it again. But that was an exciting job, but boring at the same time. I mean, I always went east. I hated going east, going through the mountains in Pennsylvania. I know they're not big mountains, but when you got 70, 80,000 pounds trying to go up a hill, and the truck is governed at 63, so you're dropping down to 35 to go up these hills. And then going downhill with all that weight, you gotta be careful too. If you use your brakes too much, they could catch on fire. And they're supposed to have engine brakes, all trucks, but a lot of the old ones, engine brakes didn't work. They call them Jake brakes. That's what they used to be called. What they do is shut down a couple cylinders, 2 or 3 cylinders in the motor or the engine, and really retard it. And we can see them big trucks going by making it pop, 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 pop. That's the engine brakes. But I did have a fire once. I was checking out my truck, doing a pre-trip, and I did a tug test, and the trailer brakes weren't holding like they were supposed to hold. It pulled ahead. So I took it to the garage. I told the kid, brakes in that rear trailer aren't holding for a tug test. And he said, okay, I'll adjust him. He's a young kid. So I go up 77 North. I get on the turnpike, heading west. And I make a stop at the service plaza, as I always do, Make sure I empty the bladder and get me a full cold drink to go. And I was pulling out of there, and I was feeling a lot of resistance. And I just kept overpowering it, and I was moving. And after a few minutes, another trucker, he was passing me. He was blowing the horn and telling me, get over, get over. So I got over, looked in the mirrors, I didn't see nothing. So I walked all the way to the back of the second trailer, and I seen the brakes were on fire. So I'd go back up to the cab and get the fire extinguisher. And in the meantime, the two inside tires, they both blew from the fire. And one just, I don't know, there's wires all over the place, metal wires. I guess they were part of the tread or something in the tire. But man, they're all over the place. But I got the fire out, and I guess where I pulled over, there's a cement wall right there beside me. So usually we call Cleveland with breakdowns, and the garage manager there, Rick, man, he knew his stuff. He just got things done like that for you. But this had to be a Sunday night, so I had to call Indianapolis. And these guys aren't used to handling roadside repairs and emergencies. So they finally got somebody to come out. He changed my tire on the left side. Says, I can't change the tire on the right, you're too close. And here, the battery had went dead in the truck, so I couldn't start it up and even move it. So then I had to wait for a guy to come out and give me a jump so I could move the truck. And once I got the truck moved, I had to wait on a guy to come out and change the right side tire. It's just one guy can't do it all. You have 3 different vendors. And in the morning, I sat all night long. Since the battery went dead, I used to have these, got them on Amazon. They're flashing caution lights, magnetic. I stuck them all over the side and back of the trailer so I wouldn't get hit. That's a big fear when you're sitting on the shoulder. But in the morning, Rick in Cleveland got to work, and I got to talk to him. He says, I'm sending a tow truck out, tell them to cage the brakes and tow you back here. Well, actually, they towed me back to Akron. But you ever seen one of those big tow trucks? I mean, they're pretty big. And then they're picking up my tractor and 2 trailers. So we were long. And, before they can tow a semi, they got to go in there and drop the drive shaft so it doesn't mess up with the transmission up. So we go down an exit or 2, and he gets off so he can turn around and get back on, go the opposite direction. And we're coming through the gate. This lady that works the gate said, oh, you're too long, you can't go on there. And the guy says, I'm licensed to run the turnpike. You know, she held us up about another hour. And finally, she let us go. I think the highway patrol had to come and convince her that he was allowed to go on the turnpike with such a long load. And it took over an hour, maybe 2 hours to get back to Akron. I went in dispatch. I said, put me down 14 hours. He was sort of a new dispatcher. He says, no, you only claim your hours until you get running. I said, dude, I got towed in. I never got running. So I got paid 14 hours plus whatever little mileage I had, going up turnpike, probably 50 miles or something. It's one of those days that sticks out in your mind. You remember it. So, I will remind you again, please like, subscribe, and share if you wish. Help me build this channel so I can earn a living instead of asking for money. But I do have a link in the description for Buy Me a Coffee or for my fundraiser, which is I want to use to help get me out of this rotten neighborhood and this rotten apartment into a nicer apartment and a nicer neighborhood. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here. Now, any help would be appreciated. But if we can grow the channel, that'd be the best option. I won't turn down the money. But I know there's some of you out there who are exhausted from me needing money. And I am sorry for that. And I don't expect any more from you, Roger. No more money from you. You've given too much. But, yeah, help me grow the channel, please. And I will sign off for the day. And wish you Godspeed.